We have never lived in a period where the future was so uncertain. The whole aim of practical politics is to keep the populace alarmed, and hence clamorous to be led to safety, by menacing it with an endless series of hobgoblins, all of them imaginary. 40 million unemployed, a suicide epidemic, more than 100,000 small businesses shut down permanently, with millions of others at risk. Some 63 million plus people lost their jobs in the USA alone. We are in the middle of the global pandemic. From the pandemic that looks like it is picking up, cities are burning, an estimate for the 2020 GDP is fall between 50 and 60%. And this is only part of the cost of the lockdown to America. Across the country, protests continue, many peaceful but others turning violent, taking their toll on small businesses. Looting and vandalism dealing a blow to those already crippled by the lockdowns. And the stock market appears to be anticipating a strong recovery as it keeps shooting up, with some indexes approaching their old record highs. The stock market is soaring to new all-time highs. Up 34% in 3 months and still in yet another bubble. It wasn't enough that the banksters earned trillions by shorting near the top of the economic collapse. So now they had the central banksters jerk the markets back up to the bubble levels before the collapse, so they can do that all over again. Geez. You have to wonder how many times they can fleece regular folks, before the regular folks either learn their lesson, or have no way to borrow more funds to invest in yet another bubble. It is beginning to look and feel a lot like 1929. 30K is where the music likely stops, and the band departs the stage. The Fed is pumping a corpse. Soon even they won't be able to deny it. The patient is dead. The addicts just don't know when to quit. As long as the Fed is allowed to print to infinity, they can buy up anything they want, and they will do so for one simple reason: pensions. Since they forced pensions into the risky stock market with zero interest rate policy, they now feel obliged to defend that, because when those pensions evaporate, there will be a lot more than simple uprisings out of the discontent of police misconduct. Anyone with a decorum of common sense knows that this sham will end badly. However, I don't fault anyone for playing their stupid game by buying worthless stocks. Unfortunately, it is the only game that is paying fraudulently derived yields right now. The stock market knows the Fed has its back. The MMT central banks won't let things fail on their watch, especially in an election year. The stock market is the Fed. There are no more markets. The Fed has the back of the money power monopolists who control it. The sole purpose of the stock market is to remove fiat money from society. And it is very easy to do if one actually knows how the stock markets work. And it has been done over and over and over. And, if you know how debt-based money systems work, you will know what happens when the debt continues to increase as access to dollars continues to plummet. It doesn't matter. The market doesn't care. 2 asteroids could hit the Earth simultaneously at opposite poles of the Earth, destroying 90% of the planet, and the market would go up 3%, and the commentators on CNBC that survive would say something like, "Markets up on asteroid mineral mining optimism." RIP markets. RIP capitalism. RIP United States Republic. It was a good run. Time to burn it all down and start the Second Republic. At this point, it looks like everything can be nuked apart from Wall Street, and 4 computers at Fed and stonks would be pushing all-time high. The vast majority of people in the US do not own stocks. The market's disconnect from reality is epic. I am anticipating very bad news at the end of the second quarter, then a long hot summer with millions who have nothing to do, taking to the streets all summer long. I have been through economic downturns about every 10 years since 1970, when Boeing laid off 2/3 of its workforce in Seattle, and the billboard went up saying, "Will the last one leaving Seattle please turn out the lights?" Nothing in the past feels like this, not the Vietnam War, Y2K, dot-com bust, real estate crash, etc. Now, millions of people cannot make a living due to lockdown. Bureaucrats who have no knowledge of business set arbitrary rules of business operation, expecting a restaurant to survive at half or less capacity, etc. as an example. Shutting down marinas and parks given what we know about the pandemic seems ludicrous. In my mind, the riots are not about the unlawful death of Mr. Floyd, but the result of oppression people unconsciously feel over the shutdown of their businesses, livelihoods, and way of life with no end in sight. His death just became an excuse for rebellion. The Fed propping up the market can only last so long before the giant bubble bursts. When? I don't know. But it will when reality finally rears its ugly head, and there is nothing the Fed can do to hide it. The markets are not markets, as there is no true price discovery because of the complete manipulation. The Fed is not a person that is even capable of telling the truth or being your friend, or having a conscience. The Fed is a collection of evil people who are not making mistakes, or bumbling or making errors. These people know exactly what they are doing, which is orchestrating the theft of all assets, by illegally, unconstitutionally, printing notes, not money, to buy every asset they possibly can. At the same time, of course, a lot of those dollars are being used to buy the junk debt of their friends. The reality is there are two societies, Wall Street and Main Street. There are two economies, two currencies, two sets of laws and justice, etc. The current stock market clearly shows the disconnect. Time to find other asset classes, because Wall Street is eventually going to destroy both currencies and society in general. Fundamentals no longer matter in this market, so calling it overvalued is meaningless and irrelevant. This market is operating under the greater fool paradigm, and the Fed has created trillions to give to these fools, ensuring that its only direction is up until the system crashes. Here is why I believe the stock market rally will continue to exceed expectations. Number 1. Because everybody in his chart is bearish. Number 2. Everyone thinks the short trade is so obvious and easy. Number 3. HFTs and progefts will crank the bid and wash short stops on the above again and again and again and again. Number 4. Because the largest companies now have a total monopoly with no small business competition. Number 5. Because the public asswipes run to get their MCDs and IKEA crap as fast as they can, showing they have loyalty and comfort. Number 6. Because stocks are the only game in town, up 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 up, just like Zimbabwe and Venezuela markets. Number 7. Because as we have seen since 2008, the inflation goes into the equity markets, the rest be damned. Number 8. Because there is no market, it's completely rigged, just slap a zero on the end of the Dow and SP 500 and make everyone happy and be done with the farce. Here's another more couple of reasons why the market could stay or go higher. First, it's a hedge against a coming hyperinflationary event and collapse of the dollar. Second, millions of more layoffs could improve or at least stabilize corporate earnings as revenues decline. The bear case is 25% unemployment and violence in the streets. Oh, wait a minute. We have that now. The Fed will buy everything in sight and copy the playbook of the Bank of Japan. It'll work until someone turns on the light switch. It sounds very much how Joe Kennedy knew to sell just before the 1929 crash. His shoeshine boy was talking about his stock holdings. It looks like we have a shoeshine boy rally. The correct time to short the market and go long the commodity index will be when regular folks have zero funds remaining, and the central banksters and their buddies own everything. In other words, it is rigged, folks, and not rigged in your favor. When the market does turn, all that wealth will be lost in a heartbeat. The young and stupid will be burnt, badly. It'll take a generation to recover. Welcome back to the Atlantis Report. You are here for your daily dose of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Just because we have muddled along putting band-aids on our economy does not mean that we have accomplished a great deal. The Trump economy has been a continuation of deficit spending. We have postponed the day of reckoning, but most likely made it far worse. We're in the biggest mess we've been in since the 1930s. True price discover totally gone. We have seen a growing amount of central bank and government intervention in markets over the years, bolstering the argument that true price discovery has been distorted. Today these forces, including stock buybacks and what has become known as the plunge protection team, appear to jump in at any sign of a pullback. This destroys true price discovery and the proper pricing of assets, which are the bedrock of free markets. In simple terms, the whole world is on a path that avoids real reform and bails out the very people that caused many of our problems. The good or bad news, depending on how you look at it, is this great manipulation will not work indefinitely. Eventually, it will come crashing down around those in charge. The Fed is a huge risk to humanity. Going short on stocks? That's financial suicide. Every sane person on earth knows by now that the Fed has an iron grip on the direction of this market, up. Jerome will buy the entire market. Never fight the Fed. The problem with the dictum, "never fight the Fed," is that it is right, until suddenly it isn't. If you fight it too early, you lose opportunities. But if you don't fight too early, and instead fight too late, then you lose everything. The big setup is happening. I believe the market will suffer a catastrophic crash a couple of months before the election, wiping out middle-class retail investors. Trump will be blamed in another move orchestrated by the deep state. In other words, for a few months more, this market is going nowhere but up. That's where making money is going to be for a while still. I remember the dot-com bubble well. However, this market would make those day traders even blush. Hertz, a bankrupt company, with massive debt, whose main stockholder bailed, rose 100% on no news today. Even tulip bulbs could be used to grow tulips. This market is the last man out Ponzi scheme. This was the Nomad Economist. Please like, share, leave me a comment, subscribe. And please take some time to subscribe to my backup channels. I do upload videos there too. You'll find the links in the description box. You will also find a PayPal link if you want to make a donation. Thank you wholeheartedly to all those of you who have already donated. Stay safe and healthy, friends.